6:32, I call this meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust on July 22nd, 2025. I call it to order. And the first order of business is to have elections for the different positions on the committee. So does anyone have, I guess we do it in order. We do chair and then vice chair and then secretary or something. Does anybody have a nomination for the chair position? Don't everybody speak at once.
I nominate Marianne Hare for chair.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Marianne,
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
So thank you for asking, Matthew.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. If no one else would like to be chair, then I will accept the nomination. If there's someone that feels really strongly and passionately that they would like to chair, then I would offer that they take it. But if there's not anyone, then I'd be happy to do it.
I think, having experienced a couple chairs, the level of accomplishment that Anna brought as far as being like driving things forward was very refreshing. And I know that she spent a fair amount of time at it. And I know that I do not have that amount of time to spend on this committee. So I appreciate you being willing to do it. And I think it's fantastic.
Ditto.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I don't have the experience that Anna brought, her experience from planning board and just from, being in different positions in town for a number of years. She leaves big shoes to fill. And I don't claim to be able to do that. I'm not sure how this process works, but one thing that I would like to ask of the trust is that if we do move forward and if I am elected into this role, I'd like for us to meet at least quarterly in person. I think that will help us to bond a bit more if we're able to do that. Not every meeting, but just, every third meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Looks like Angus has...
Angus, do you have your hand raised?
Sorry.
Yes, indeed, I do. I wanted to, oh dear, what's going? Oh, there we go. I wanted to parrot or second what Matthew had said. Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Yes. So Anna's accomplishments are monumental, but then she does have a bit of experience. I did second Sue's nomination, but unfortunately, I think I was muted and nobody heard me. Certainly, I've been on the trust for 6 years, and I've seen the work grow in leap and bounds to where Anna had left it. We had started with bare bones, and a lot of accomplishments had come along, and the trust work now is pretty much like a full-time job. And certainly anybody taking up the role must have enough time to dedicate to it. And I do believe Marianne, coming in from a background of real estate, recently retired from what I heard, if I'm wrong, please correct me, does have a significant amount of experience and time that we certainly shouldn't leave to fall off by the wayside. And I do believe the nomination is in order. I second it, and I think that she'll do a tremendous job. Certainly, Marianne, if there's any question or any issues that arise, Marin is here, Harvey is here, the whole trust is here. We'll work with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And just to be clear, I don't have a real estate background. My background is high tech, and but the experience I bring is really through the the volunteer work that I've done through the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and the work that I do with our neighbors in need in Littleton and other local communities. So that's the experience that I bring, but it certainly will be a learning curve. And in terms of just setting expectations, I do not have full-time 40 hours a week to commit to this. So if that's your expectation, Angus, then that's not happening.
No,
So
obviously not. And I
yeah.
don't think anybody has given that much.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it as a full-time job, and I have other jobs, right? So I will, commit as much as I can to move things forward. And yeah, that's I just wanted to be clear though about my background and the level of commitment that I'll be able to deliver here.
Right. And for clarification, I just meant in terms of the scope of the work and not that you should commit that much time. So, but certainly we'll take whatever time you can offer.
Thank you.
Right. Is there any further discussion? Can we just do this by acclamation instead of a vote, or do we need a vote?
We need a vote.
We need a vote. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to nominate Marianne as chair. All in favor, I will just go across. Matthew,
Matthew is yes.
Marianne,
Do I vote or do I abstain in this?
Yeah, you totally
vote.
vote.
You can vote.
Okay, then I'll vote yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Angus,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I believe that's all of us, so
Yep.
it's unanimous vote. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the vote
All
of
right.
confidence.
All right, so now you're chair. You can do the rest of it.
Is that how it goes?
I'll nominate Bartlett for vice chair.
Oh my God.
Second.
Revenge is fast.
Sorry.
Are you okay with that, Bartlett?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So the motion was made and seconded. So Marianne, take us home.
No. So this also requires a vote then,
Yes.
correct?
And a roll.
Okay. Then we'll take it around then. So Matthew,
Matthew is yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Angus.
Yes.
Okay.
And you vote too.
And I vote yes. Okay. And I vote last, right? Is that
Yeah.
how it normally works? Okay.
And for the minutes, it helps if you say who made the motion and who seconded it for the person compiling the minutes.
Okay. So Matthew made the motion and Marianne seconded.
Great.
Okay. I certainly will need to refresh between this meeting and next meeting on the Robert's Rules of Order here, but keep me honest in the meantime.
We're a long way from Robert's Rules of Orders.
Okay. So Bartlett, were you serious? Do you want me to take over from here, or is this, I don't get like an effective tomorrow?
No, it was effective 10 minutes ago.
Okay. All right, then let's move on then to item 3 on the agenda. 3A is our strategy 4.1 small grants program. And Amy, you sent around a couple of new applications. So if you could go through those, that'd be terrific.
Sure thing. And congratulations, Marianne and Bartlett, on your new positions. Everybody seems very excited.
Thank you.
All right. So small grant application number 13. So this is a single individual that is dealing with a pretty intense rodent infestation. It went throughout the ductwork and insulation in their mobile home. She's been breathing in the fumes and rodent droppings in urine, which we all know is not good for our health. And it's caused her some frequent hospital visits and doctor's visits. So she went and got some quotes on getting the ductwork replaced, as well as the damage to the insulation underneath, and getting the whole underbelly resealed so to reduce further infestation. So she's seeking for the grant to cover the first $7,500, and she is working with Habitat to cover the remaining amount and pay that off. The quotes that there was two HVAC quotes, and then 3 insulation and underbelly sealant quotes, and the ones that Henry had approved was estimate 1 for the HVAC and then estimate 3 for the insulation moisture barrier underbelly sealant.
And what do those total?
So the total is for $8,784. So anything over the 75 is what Habitat will finance with her.
And Amy, that's the one where you sent the letter confirming that, right, from Habitat?
Yes, it's the redacted letter. Yep.
Any
Well,
questions, comments?
It looks pretty straightforward to me. I mean, she's secured the balance, and I have no objections in moving this forward.
Mhm.
You said that the issue was rodents in the trailer, in the mobile home?
Mice. Yeah.
This includes getting rid of the rodents in some way?
So the rodents have already been dealt with.
Oh,
It's now
they've been
the
okay.
aftermath that she's dealing with.
Okay, all right.
All of the residue that's left behind.
Well, I'll make a motion that we support this applicant 13 with a grant of $7,500.
Second?
Okay. Guess we will vote then. Matthew,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes,
Bartlett,
Yes,
Angus,
Yes.
and Marianne is a yes. So SGP 13 is approved.
So Amy, did you arrange the coordination with Habitat on this?
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Lisa has been great over there. Lisa Garvey, I believe is her name. She's brought some folks to me and we've been collaborating on a couple different cases. So I can move on to grant number 14.
On to 14. Yep.
All right. So this is a 2-person household, ages 64, 65. They both have chronic health conditions, one requiring dialysis and the other receiving cancer treatment. With the health conditions causing decline in the physical capabilities, they are seeking support from the program to add a shower stall with a handheld shower. So this would be like your walk-in shower, no tub that you have to jump over, which will increase their abilities to remain as independent and safe as possible, staying in their home. Let's see here. The estimate, there was 2 different estimates received, one for $9,200 and then another for $10,300. And Henry approved the $9,200 estimate.
Is this a retrofit of an existing bathroom, or are they putting a new shower in on a new floor?
So this is a bathroom with a closet, and it sounds like the closet is what's getting turned into the shower stall.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to cover the 7,500 of the 9,200.
Yes, and we talked about Habitat helping with the remaining balance, but her children are able to help with the remaining balance. So they'll pitch in, and she has a little bit of savings that she can use to cover anything that the kids can't.
wow.
Well, I make a motion that we approve S14.
Second.
Okay. Matthew makes the motion. Angus seconds. Let's go around for a vote then. Matthew,
Yes.
Susan,
yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes,
Angus,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So we approve SGP 14.
How much money have we spent and how much do we have left? This has been like a raging success, right? Like this is, of all the things we've done, I don't recall ever having this many applicants or approving this much money going out in such a short time span.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. I did go back and update our internal spreadsheet that has the amounts that have been approved, and shared that with Amy, but I forgot to share it with with you all. With one of the grants having been passed over, I think there are two more, help me out, either two or three more full grants available and then one partial.
Sorry, my dog joined.
So I will, before the next meeting, I'll get that information to you, but Amy and I are working closely together so that she's not accepting applications for funds that we don't have.
Did we approve this at the fall town meeting last year?
This was funded through state grant program, Housing Choice Grant.
That's right.
$120,000. So there was up to 16 full grants available. Some grants have been partial. One was turned out they didn't need the work done. So we have, like I said, that was 14. So I think we have 3 more full grants and 1 partial left. But like I said, Amy and I are working together, so she's not accepting applications that can't be funded. And so I did apply for additional housing choice grant to add more funding to this program for the next 2 fiscal years. I did requested $240,000. We won't hear if that grant is awarded until maybe early November.
But then the cash wouldn't show up until the fiscal year next July?
If it's awarded
Or
for,
is that not tied to?
let's see. So the way I requested it would become available this January.
Okay.
If
So calendar year.
yeah.
Calendar.
A similar cycle to last year when we got it, right? We got it in January, started in February-ish.
Yes.
And you doubled it based on the demand?
Based on the demand, and our ability to really tackle that number of projects. So that would be for 2 fiscal year, about 2 years. We're going to work through that amount.
Great.
Clearly there's a need, right? As you said,
Clearly.
It's been a great success. And thanks for putting the application forward for more funds. Okay. I think we can move on then to LRAP, the Rental Assistance Program. Any new applications, Amy? No?
No new applications.
Okay.
So can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting. And I had written up a potential policy. Did you all discuss that? Like for to go over like whether we renew after 3 years or not?
We tabled the discussion, Matthew, until you could join us. So that's next up on the agenda.
Oh, well,
so we can cover that now if you'd like.
Sure, why not? Unless there's any more LRAP to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is.
So I wrote that primarily because 2 meetings ago, we had a lot of long discussions about renewals after 3 years. And Mark legitimately pointed out that why do we have a 3-year limit if we never stop after 3 years? So I think my only point in this policy was to give us motivation or just a framework so that we could actually, end someone's support, which I realize is always going to be a very difficult decision. And I think if we are very, clear about this at the beginning of the process that it lasts for 3 years, at the end of the 3 years, we won't have the difficulty in saying no, especially if there are other people who need the money.
So I did some research on this. I inquired with several other housing trusts that have a rental assistance program. They all appear to have 3-year caps. And from the ones that got back to me, they're all very hard 3-year caps. They do not extend past 3 years. The one said they've only had one circumstance where they extended beyond 3 years, and that was someone that was terminal. And they didn't want to, cut her off in her last few months. So everyone seems to be pretty strict about their 3-year caps except us.
So I guess my feeling is if there aren't more applicants than money, it seems silly to cut someone off after 3 years.
Well, so we're spending CPC funds on LRAP that we could be spending on other projects that would have a longer term. So there's always the money. It's just a matter of what we're spending the money on. We can choose to spend it on rental assistance, but that doesn't really build more affordable housing. That's
True.
a short-term, it's a short-term Band-Aid for someone, right? It doesn't help the long-term.
So perhaps the policy should be even more strict than I wrote it. But I welcome any feedback.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that several of our LRAP recipients have been, if not terminal, at least not having prospects of increasing income,
Mhm.
and that it's necessary. Well, I don't know if it's essential, but it's certainly an important benefit to those people to get that LRAP money. So, I mean, I would be happy to say, or I would consider, we say there's a very hard 3-year limit, but people can reapply after 3 years if they think that they, have no alternative.
But the LRAP isn't meant to be the last alternative for people. It's meant to be a temporary solution to a problem, right? And if they're going beyond 3 years, it's no longer, 3 years is what we considered temporary. And I think what we said before is if they're on LRAP, they can't be on other lists, or they don't end up on other lists for state aid and things because we're supporting them.
No.
And then what Amy has said before is they don't get, or I believe it was Amy, but someone said that they won't get the things because since we're supporting their rent, they don't get the programs that kick in right prior to being evicted and things like that.
So
Because
not necessarily. It does. People that are prioritized on a lot of at least the CHAMP, which is the state subsidized housing waitlist. That one, they're prioritizing people that are homeless or at imminent risk of homelessness. So these are people that are documented in shelters and needing permanent housing, and so they're staying in those permanent housing shelter programs where they keep them until they can get them secured with housing, without having like court proceedings in process for people that are on those wait lists. That's kind of like where we've seen in our office that the ball starts kind of rolling for the folks that are on the state subsidized housing list is when they're in the court proceedings. There's documentation from the courts saying that they're facing homelessness because they're getting evicted. Those are the folks that would get bumped up into a more of a priority over others. But like federal sites like Mill Pond or the Littleton Green, those two sites, they can kind of handle their wait lists the way they want. They're not mandated in the same way as the state. So that's what I was trying to allude to.
But that
with
still
my
means that
comments.
because we're paying their rent, we're keeping them out of the court system that would open up the other avenues.
Yeah, I think that what you're describing, Mark, is the case with RAFT, which is rental assistance for families in transition. And that can provide up to $7,000 a year for families that need rental assistance. But typically, they don't accept applications until there's an eviction notice. So it creates a difficult situation, right? Because a lot of people don't want that eviction notice, right? They want to retain a relationship with their landlords, but that typically is what's required to qualify for RAFT.
So I want to bring a different dimension to this. Perhaps Amy can correct me if I'm wrong. Majority of the people we've helped with this program are usually the elderly who have very little prospects of increasing income or new income, or even to go out there and get a job. And some of them are ill and almost literally bedridden, can't help themselves. So certainly what we're providing is a lifeline. And how do you put a hard stop to that after 3 years and with no more prospects of getting anything from anywhere? I'm not sure that we must follow what other towns are doing. We have our own culture here, and we have the way we've always done it here. And I do believe that the policies we've had that have been documented multiple times in minutes, and actually Maren brought them up, I think a couple of meetings ago, should be the way we move along with this type of business. Excuse me. I don't believe we should just cut them off with a hard stop and say, "Oh, it's 3 years, you're done," with no prospects of getting anything anywhere else.
Right.
I strongly believe we should be reducing the amount of money we're giving to LRAP and spending that money on building affordable housing in town. We would be much better off in the long term rather than transferring money that we're getting from the CPC to landlords. We'd be much better off reducing it by half to 2/3 and putting that money into building more affordable housing.
I do
That's what we
understand
should
the
be
logic
doing.
for that, but certainly we are doing both.
No, we're not.
We are building affordable housing. We are working in construction in several other areas. There's 550 King Street. There's
That's not us.
250. There's a Durkee Farm building. We are doing stuff.
So the only thing we've accomplished on that is the Habitat House, where we're spending $250,000 to put in 2 houses, effectively, 2 affordable housing. This is not sustainable on how we should be doing this. We need to think big, and it's going to require more money, and we can't put it all towards LRAP to do this. 550 is not our project. We're not funding anything on 550 currently.
Well, Mark,
When
we
you're
already
s-
have 200,000 into the Habitat site, and we've committed to spending
Yes,
another 100,000. So
I
that's
understand that.
300. But when we spend 7,500 to improve somebody's house, that's 7,500, and it doesn't add any numbers to the affordable list either. So I'm in
But that's
favor.
not-
I mean, I
that's state
support
money.
Angus on this.
That's not Littleton money. That's state tax money that we're getting a grant for. We can't actually do that for CPC funds, right?
We could.
No, we can't. It's illegal. You cannot. That's why we had to go for the grant, because you can't spend CPC funds on people's houses.
So
Well,
when you design the
thanks.
program, oh, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
No, I totally agree with Angus and Bartlett. I can't see putting a hard stop after 3 years. Some of these people, as Bartlett pointed out, have already had to go longer than just 3 years. And they are, in most cases, the elderly who do not have a chance to get more income and get themselves out of a situation where the rent is a problem. And yeah, I understand, Mark, what you're saying about having the money to do more for affordable housing. But to me, that's a much bigger a much bigger issue, a much bigger problem that we're not going to be able to tackle and do all at once, and that this helping $500 a month, helping people with rent, is something that we can do locally, and we should.
I didn't say we shouldn't do it. I think that the
No.
3 years is a reasonable. Read the policy and read what LRAP's supposed to be. It says it's short-term rental assistance. That's what it's meant for. It's not a long-term program.
It says you can renew or reapply after 5 years, is, if we could word it that way, is what, I mean, after 3 years. I just can't see it being a 3-year program and stop, because, well, I'm not for that.
Amy, you're the one that sees these folks that are applying and that are in this situation. How do you feel that most people are able to graduate from the program? Like, what options do people have to stop the dependence on LRAP?
We do have a few folks that have transitioned out successfully before or either at the 3-year mark or before the 3-year mark. And some of them have ended up they've received one of those state funded or federally funded vouchers. We've had some that have passed on. We have some that have been evicted from their current residence, even with the help of the program, because they were too far into the whole rent-wise or on terms with their landlord in order to stop it with the program. And then we have some that have found and secured more affordable housing in other communities. So I've seen a range of it. I understand both sides. I understand the back and forth in the argument. I think in speaking to what Mark is kind of talking about with the affordable housing, I think what my follow-up question would be is what level of affordability are we looking at? Are we looking at a certain AMI? Are we looking at deeply affordable? Because that is the greatest need that I see, just because those wait lists are so long. And I know the process for that is very complex and there's lots of shades of gray and it's very hard to understand. But that's where the need is in that deeply affordable category, where you're looking at these people that are on disability or they're on Social Security. There isn't the ability to increase the income, and they're still struggling. They can't get on into those programs because there's such a demand for it. And in order for you to go in, it's usually because you're waiting for somebody to pass on, be no longer eligible to live in one of those facilities, or move in with family or whatever. Like, there's circumstances that surround them leaving that type of a living situation. And you don't really understand that need until you're the one living it and dealing with it, either as a family member or as, one of the people that Marianne and I work with through St. Vincent de Paul, which is difficult because you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. You really don't have another option. But I also, and I see it from the other side too. I'm a bleeding heart. I'm always going to do my best to try and find a resource to help them stay in their place and make things work, and not have to rip up their family roots and move to a different community. But there has to be that ability to see that reality isn't going to be in affording a market rate rental.
So I guess I'm gonna kind of support Mark. I think that we are in a position of we sort of feel like we have a lot of money, and we do, but I don't think that's necessarily going to last. Some of the things that FinCom has talked about over the last few years and the financial policies that they want to put in place, they feel like us having $1 million in the bank is a waste, because we're not spending it and it's not doing anything for Littleton. And a lot of it came from CPC. I mean, I know some was payments from developers, but it all got run through the CPC for the match. So, I think that if we were running on a shoestring and we were scraping to try to find $90,000 to help Habitat build a house, we might be having a different discussion about the LRAPs, because we might be saying, it's hard for us to justify spending $60,000 or $70,000 a year on rental assistance when we could convert some of that to money that we could go towards finding a permanent house for someone. So I think that, that is a valid concern for me. I'm as committed to like helping people, I think, as anybody here. And I also understand like long-term fixes are better than short-term fixes. So I think that 3 years of help is a good middle ground, and I would advocate for having a cutoff after 3 years.
I support that as well. And I think it's important for us, as was noted earlier, to be transparent with people, to give them the opportunity to address their situation within the 3 years. And I know and I understand that's difficult, but I think 3 years to me seems like a reasonable period of time to support what was identified and implemented as a short-term program.
Because the people on disability, or the people who absolutely can't afford their rent and never will, I don't think this is the program for them. Like, they should be finding, with Amy's help, other, state programs to help them live affordably.
So, Amy, are there any such programs?
Come on.
Well, there is, but the availability of those programs are limited. They all have wait lists. You go to Mill Pond, you're looking at 3 to 5. Any state aided housing authority, you're looking at 10.
Years.
Yes.
Years. Yes, 10 years.
Yeah.
There's such a great need for deeply affordable housing in the Commonwealth. So it's just, I think that's the struggle. And I understand where Mark is coming from and what Matthew is saying. And it's a difficult position, because you're, like I said, for those folks that really need to get into one of those places and they're on those wait lists, because that's one of the parameters of the program, is that they're willing and able to and agree to being on those wait lists. It's just, there's so many people that need it. It's hard to get one. And I wish I knew what the magic thing is that I do on the applications with the ones that do get it. I really wish I do. Because some people it happens quickly, and some people it takes so long, and I don't know what their algorithm is, but it's really unfortunate that there's such a great need and there isn't a better solution.
And I believe if you look at what the governor's doing, she kind of understands that, and she's throwing a lot of money towards affordable housing things, right? And we should be advocating with our legislatures and our governor and everyone else for them to throw more money at these types of programs, right?
Right. But we also know that it takes years and years to build that stuff. None of those units are going to come online for 3 years or 5 years.
So what are we proposing here? I think we have two options, right? Right now we have the program in place with the defined limit of 3 years, and we basically just don't enforce it. So I think, Mark, you're proposing that we don't change the existing policy, but we start enforcing it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, Angus, what's your proposal?
Well, we do have a proposal on the books. We have it documented in our minutes and in policy that we reevaluate. It's at the discretion of a trust to evaluate each case as it comes along to us. Now, if someone's been on it for 3 years, we're not going to automatically renew for another 3 years. It has to be brought back to the trust for review and then independently evaluated on its own merit to determine whether they should proceed. And I think that that's where we are, and that's where we should stay, rather than put a hard stop for people who are going to be on a waiting list for 10 years. So if we adopt the hard stop, don't be surprised if you see homeless people on the streets. Right now, we don't really have any, but it will come.
We do. So you're proposing that we not make any official changes or no changes.
No changes
continue
to the
with
current
the process we've been following.
Yes, the current policy is the case is reevaluated after 3 years. And Marion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Amy can correct me if I'm wrong. The current policy is each case is reevaluated on its own individual basis after 3 years to determine continuation of the program.
The policy actually says they should be evaluated every year. They're reevaluated every year. And after 3 years, they're off.
Recertification after 3 years is brought back to the trust.
So again, then I guess you're not proposing any changes to that. So there still would be a recertification, or is it a reapplication? Do they need to reapply after 3 years, or is it just
reapply every year, Marianne?
Yeah, I
reapply, it's not
receive,
just reevaluated?
yeah, I receive applications and supporting documentation annually. Yes.
Yes.
At the turnover of the fiscal year. And I start that process in like March, April timeframe, where I send everything out and for those that want to continue in the program.
And now, Amy, could you tell us what you do if they've reached 3 years and they have nowhere to go? Do you just automatically renew it, or do you send it back to the trust?
So I'm trying to remember exactly. So when we had finally reached our first time of people coming to that 3-year mark, we were two and a half years into the pandemic. There wasn't a lot. And so if there was mitigating circumstances, I was advised to, review it with them and see if there was a reason why they should continue in the program. And so that's what I've been doing, because I wasn't told to do differently. I'm happy to do that. I have always been very transparent with every applicant about the guidelines, that it's, this is not a permanent program. This is not a long-term program. There is a 3-year time frame on this. I can bring it back with mitigating circumstances, but it's up to the trust to say whether you go on or not. So that's how I've always left it with folks. I had that conversation with all of the ones that were beyond the 3 years this year. So I brought it to the trust for the trust to make the decision.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Amy, the guidance from the trust at that time was that we would extend 1 year, but not beyond that.
Right. And those people were given that communication, and they were happy to have the additional year to make sure they had everything in order to move on past the program at the end of this fiscal year. Yes, at the end of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we want to move forward, folks?
Well, we just put it to vote.
But what are we voting on?
Right.
Are we voting on no change to the policy, in which case we wouldn't have a vote? Or are we voting on? Yeah, I don't know what we're voting on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I misphrased it. I think that we should just leave it as it is. And after 3 years, it's brought back to the trust, and then we independently evaluate each case on its own merits, as we've always done.
Yeah. Feels a little like kicking the can down the road. So instead of deciding now, we're going to decide every time a renewal comes up. And I guess that's an okay way for us to move forward. I mean, I think that if we strictly follow what's in place now, then we will be terminating more tenants after 3 years. I think we just have to prepare for that unless we make a change to extend beyond 3 years.
Well,
Well,
I'm confused then, because I'm agreeing with Angus that the policy says if the person hits the 3-year mark, then we evaluate it. But now you're saying, Mary Ann, well, at the end of 3, we have to be ready for a hard stop. Well, no, maybe we need to, before we table this, and I know we've kicked it around a lot, but let's get the policy written exactly what we all understand it to be, and then be able to take a vote, or at least, or everybody look at the policy again. I have to admit, I'm not totally clear. I'm hearing people say 2 different things.
So to be clear, it was reevaluated, I believe, in the fall of last year, and updated to the words I'm stating here, that the after 3 years it needs to be reevaluated on its own merit. And
Okay.
that doesn't mean that the trust is going to be a rubber stamp that just approves everything that comes along the road. So if it comes up and folks feel it's unnecessary to be renewed, then we stop it right there.
Okay. So let me throw this back at you then, Angus. We just reviewed them all, and every one of them was approved that was over 3 years. So tell me what criteria you're going to use to reject someone that's been for year 4. Because right now the policy says we're going to review them and then we can reject them, but we didn't reject a single one. So what's the criteria that you would use to reject one?
Well, the same criteria that's written in the policy. What you're stating is that at the particular time those cases were brought to us, amongst the cases that were brought to us, none of them were deemed sufficiently egregious to be rejected. That doesn't mean that in future it's not going to happen, that cases are going to be rejected.
So what is sufficiently egregious? Because we're talking people that were on the program because they needed assistance. Nothing changed in their situation. They still need assistance. So when did it become egregious?
Well, it's a decision for the trust to make when these cases are presented.
That's what I'm asking is what is the factor for you and you, Susan, that would say all of a sudden this person that's been getting rental assistance now no longer qualifies because of what?
Well, Mark, I'm not going to make this decision independently on my own. It's a collective decision. We make the decision.
Yes, everyone gets a vote. So what changes your vote from a yes to a no? Because we just approved 6 of them, I believe, that were over the time. And nothing had changed in their situation except their time was up. And everyone said, we're going to extend them. Right?
It seems
the trust voted to extend them. So what's the circumstances under which you say, nope, we're going to cut this person off?
Well, we're more aware of it now. I think going forward, we're going to be a little bit more careful in the way we approve these programs. It doesn't require that we throw the baby out with the bathwater at this time. I believe
I don't think you're following Mark's question, but the way I see it too is that we have a certain criteria that we use when they first apply. And what's different about the criteria that we use after 3 years? Because if we're just using that same criteria, why have a 3-year limit? Right? If it's just the same set of criteria. So what's different after 3 years? Mark mentioned I think it was Boxborough and other towns said that they had 1 extension for someone who was terminally ill. That's like the extent of their exception. Is there something exceptional about the situation that would prompt an extension beyond 3 years?
Right. See, I would consider the question perhaps a different way. And why does Littleton LRAP program have a 3-year limit? We have a 3-year limit because that's what we borrowed from Boxborough as the example.
Right, but every other one does too. I have not seen a single one that doesn't have one that's more than 3 years. So,
well, why should Littleton follow that standard?
Because these are short-term assistance. some of them actually even shorter. Right.
Right, right, but Littleton certainly has the option to not follow that standard. And again, a policy decision that's up to the trust. I sound, it sounds to me like, if I could recap, there's 3 that are interested in keeping a harder limit at the 3 years, 3 of you who are interested in providing some leeway. It's not going to get resolved this evening. I'm happy to share the existing policy with all the members for further discussion at the next meeting. If that, and if you're looking for additional information, additional research that staff can help with, let us know what it is that we can help you with.
Thanks for that, Maren. That's helpful. And I think if you could resend it, that would be great. Without consensus, right, which we don't have, I think I haven't heard a motion to make a change. It seems like it wouldn't pass if there was one. So at this point, I believe we just stick with the policy as it is today. And again, we'll have to evaluate case by case unless there are changes. Does everyone agree, or does anyone have a different opinion?
I do
I
think
agree.
that,
I mean, I think we can revisit this discussion. I think that's fair, but I don't see any reason to change anything right this minute.
Okay. Matthew, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, like, I think that we are going to be right back in the same position we were when we approved 6 next time we talk about this. The point of my policy was to give us guidelines on and make it a temporary assistance program, and we're not going to do that. It's hard for me to imagine any one of us saying no more money for this poor person who can't afford their rent. So, but okay, like, it's clear, like, if there's not a majority who want to change it, we're not going to get anywhere tonight, and we've probably talked about this enough.
I think so as well. I do want to thank you, Matthew, though, for the time that you put in. I think with Amy as well. I think there was some good insight there.
Can I throw a thought out there? I don't know if this is helpful or if this is just going to make it messier. I just, we have that preference point system to for when we reach capacity in the program. Is there a certain points that everybody could agree on, like medically ill, like if they're in the terminal situation, preference points to put on the certain circumstances where it could kind of be graded in a way that the trust could find a way to be on the same page about the extension policies. It's just a thought. I don't know if that's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of what Mark's throwing out there a little bit, but it kind of puts a way to kind of not necessarily completely dismiss a person's situation, but to kind of grade it in a sense of like this, on the scale of, being from like bad to like horrific, where do they fall? And is that going to help with making the decision? Just a thought to throw out there.
Yeah, Amy, that's an excellent suggestion. I'd be happy to work with you to draw up those guidelines. I mean, certainly we can look at it. If they're on dialysis and they're about to die or something, then perhaps we probably shouldn't throw them on the streets. And then make a list like that.
Okay.
Yep, I think it's a good idea. Thanks, Amy.
Okay.
Sorry, Susan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's a good idea too. And I'm willing to work with you too, Amy, on that.
Perfect.
Okay.
I like the collaboration.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next agenda item, the Tahadawan Road project. And Mark, if you have an update on that.
Sure. So I think everyone got notice to go and sign the deed. I don't know if I went and did it today. I don't know if everyone else has done that yet. And I believe Marianne or Marianne or Bartlett signed as chair. Bartlett might have signed as chair already, and the select board has to sign off for the final closing. We are very close. I think the deed is the last thing that we had to do for the closing. I've been having conversations with Carolyn Reed. She would like to do a walkthrough of the site in early August, either the first or second week, and was with us and the neighbors to talk about what's going on. And she was asking if anyone had any restrictions on dates or preferences on dates before we set that up as well.
Nothing specific.
So Mark, I did sign, just to your question, I didn't sign as chair, having not been chair at the time. So if I need to do something different, I guess Maren would you let me know, or is that?
Yeah, I think Maren could correct me, but I think we're all set there, but I'm not 100% positive.
So I turned all of that over to Lucia so she could follow up with it.
Okay.
So she's been emailing with you all on gathering the signatures. As soon as it's ready, she'll get those notarized and then back to Rian or you. I asked her to contact both of you when it's ready.
Okay.
I'll reach out to her tomorrow just to see if she needs anything else from me. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
And just another quick note about the Habitat Tehadawon Road parcel. I talked with Carolyn a little bit last week. They have applied to the bank in Boston for one of their fair housing, affordable housing grant programs. So it was very nice to be able to partner, for the town to partner with them on this grant application.
Thank you. Next agenda item, strategy 2.1, Durkee.
So just before we move on, I'll work with Carolyn to set something up for either the week of the August 4th or August 11th as a walkthrough, and whoever can make it can make it.
Yep. I'm around those weeks, so I should be able to make it.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And Mark, if you need to post it as a site walk, just let Lucia know.
Yep,
Thank
I will
you.
do that.
Okay. Anything more on Tehadawon?
Nope.
Okay, on to 2.1, Durkee Farmhouse. Bartlett, anything to?
Yep. I completed and signed the insurance on the house and barn, and for liability and not for damages. The cost is $1,200 and change, reduced from the $12,000 that they were asking for the liability. I'm not really aware of other changes on that. I'm waiting for a draft of the RFP. I intend to call Laura about and talk to her about that, maybe when it arrives, and have something. I hope to have something for the next meeting. Anyhow.
Yep. And actually circling back on Laura's schedule, she is away until very early August, I think the 3rd. So she wasn't, that's one of the reasons she wasn't available to provide us an update for tonight on the status of the RFP.
She deserves a vacation too. So all good. We'll look forward to it next month then. Okay, moving on to board business. Anything else on Durkee? Actually, before we move on.
Not really. I am going to talk to the highway department about resecuring the bulkhead, but the insurance requires that the doors and stuff be secured and that there be no trespassing signs, and the no trespassing signs are in place. The barn appears to be secure. The house, the bulkhead is. The plywood panels have been moved. I've moved them back. I don't know if they're secured.
Okay. Thank you. Then moving on to board business, first topic here is exploring the next Affordable Housing Trust development. And Mark, you and I had talked about these. The first is a revolving RFP for land purchase.
Sure. Do you want me to drive these discussions, Marianne?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thanks, Mark.
So, Marianne and I talked to Lauren about a month or a little over a month ago about looking into what we could do next, as far as potential projects where we could do them. We talked about like Shattuck Street or possibly across from Russell Street, or if we wanted to just purchase a plot of land and what we had to do. This led us to a discussion with Kim Quovo, who's the chief procurement officer in town, who told us what we would have to do for if we wanted to purchase property to develop as affordable housing. And basically, for almost all property, we would have to go through an RFP process. So we would have to put out a RFP that says the Affordable Housing Trust is interested in purchasing land to build affordable housing on, and then people can apply, can submit their responses to that, and then we at a meeting can judge that we like that response and proceed to buy the property in that manner. We cannot go and buy, if you see a for sale sign in the neighborhood and you say, the Affordable Housing Trust should go and buy that, we cannot do that. We have to do it through the RFP process. So when we were talking about this with Kim, one way of doing this is basically to put out a revolving RFP. So we can put out an RFP that says, if you have a plot of land that you want to sell, we're going to look at all proposals we get by September 30th and make an evaluation and say whether or not we want to buy one or not. If we pick none, we'll reissue the RFP for December 31st. So we basically always have these RFPs out there that we can review anyone that would submit their land for sale, that we could evaluate whether we wanted to build something on. This is for land that the town doesn't currently own in any way. So that's what the revolving RFP is about. Kim has offered to help us write a revolving RFP if we're interested in pursuing this. And Marianne and I said we'd bring it back to the board and see what everyone thought of this idea and what we wanted to do. The idea here is, after Tahadawan is well on its way, we're basically going to be handing that off to Habitat within the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Durkee's down the pipeline, and we should be figuring out what project we're going to do next for building affordable housing. And this was our approach to tackling that. So if people think we should be working on this revolving RFP, Marianne and I can continue to work with Kim to draft something to bring to the next meeting. The other option is we look at building on town land that the town already owns, which we've identified a couple parcels that might work, but we haven't. But one is right across 495 from Russell Street, really close to the end of the sewer line. It's currently controlled by Park and Rec. It's where they were talking about building tennis courts at one point, but determined that the access road would cost too much for tennis courts. For affordable housing, it might not. The road might make more sense. When we met with Marin, she said we'd have to go through and do a wetlands survey, which will cost us some money to do. I presume that we haven't allocated. So if we're interested in pursuing that property, we can start the process on whatever that would be. There's a couple other properties in town that we could also start looking at, which would probably be the same type of process. So that summed it up pretty well, Marin and Marianne.
That's a great summary. I would say the only other property we talked about in some detail maybe was behind the police station. and determined that that one would be challenging just with access and easements, and that's not one that we would prioritize.
I would like very much to have a standing RFP based on my experience with the orchard. It's kind of a hassle. And we have enough bureaucracy already to try to get something purchased. Let's not let an RFP be another additional step that we have to go through in order to get it approved. So I think that's a great idea.
So Marion and I will work with Kim and Marin on getting this going so that we'll have something either for the next meeting or September. So the other property that we talked about was, I don't remember the exact address, on, what is it, 19 Shattuck Street?
It's 14, yeah.
14, right next to Pine Tree Park, that vacant field, which we, after talking to Kim, I think there's enough special circumstances that it's possible that we can get permission. We can look at purchasing that property without going through the RFP process, because there's enough special circumstances around it that we could circumvent the RFP. Do you want to take it from there, Marianne? You've done.
Yeah, so just I think some of the characteristics, right? It abuts the town land, right? Already it's on town sewer, so some of those aspects would make it or would allow us to potentially bypass the RFP process. I did reach out to Lisa Stahovic, who's a realtor here in town, and she confirmed the owners and the fact that it is not currently on the market, nor has it been on the market in the recent past. So I've asked for her input on best way to approach the owners to understand if it's something that they would be willing to put on the market or to sell to the town. So any other thoughts or insights there?
I mean, it's right next to Pine Tree Park. That would be a great spot.
Yeah.
For affordable housing. Also very close to the senior center and the library.
Yep.
And it's
No,
a
it's a
fairly
great-
large. It's a fairly large too. It's several acres, isn't it?
It's just an acre and a quarter or something
Okay.
like that. But when we toured when we talked with Lab 9, they said they could do like, was it a 30 unit development on like little on 3/4 of an acre?
0.6. So they have a kind of a standard design that they were proposing to us, like exactly as you said, Mark, a 3-story, 30 unit affordable housing with a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, with 1-to-1 parking. And it's, again, looks like a nice proposal. So it can be done on that space. And like you said, just the access to the library, the senior center, with potential, aligning with Pine Tree Park management there. I think it's a great spot. Okay, so if folks agree, we can then continue, and I can circle back with Lisa again about best way to approach the owner. Marin, unless you have any insight on how to do this.
Yep, so the other recommendation I heard from Kim was to involve town council in reaching out to the owner, should the town so choose to do that. Yep.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mhm.
All right.
So Marin, just for clarity, should Marianne reach out to town council? Should you reach out? Should I reach out? I don't know what the process should be here.
I think as chair, Mary Ann certainly can. I would
Okay.
recommend you start with Tom Harrington,
Okay.
and he'll either handle it or direct you to one of his staff who will.
I'll help you do that, Marianne.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have his contact, so that'd be great. Thanks, Mark. Okay. Next topic is trustee and town planner updates. And how are we doing on time? The meeting should go not more than 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
That's the cutoff? We'll try to keep it shorter, but okay. So Marin, you want to kick us off? Town planner update?
Town planner update. So I would, my update was going to be about possible candidates for the seventh member of the Affordable Housing Trust. I did reach out to Kristen Guichard. A lot of you know her as the planning director in Acton. She is in the process of leaving that position and becoming the director of the regional housing service offices that covers Concord, Lexington, Sudbury, I think a whole bunch of communities in that area. She's obviously a Littleton resident. She was stepped in as a planning board member during a partial term when somebody else had stepped off. I don't think we could get any luckier than to have her join us. She was not willing, when I spoke to her, she was willing to listen to sitting on the trust, but was not able to offer her time yet, and can reevaluate in September whether her new job will offer her the time to sit on the trust.
Wow. Sounds like that would be a terrific candidate. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the option would be then to wait and decide if she would be willing to do it. So can we hold off on this until September?
So the appointment is, this appointment is the town administrators. So yes, I have made that signal.
I know
Okay.
him. I could talk to him.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Okay, I guess we'll continue on the updates and then we'll go through possible candidates. Or actually maybe everyone can do that during as they give updates. Matthew, any updates?
Nothing actually. There's someone on the if we do need someone else, there's someone on the charter committee that I think would be a good fit, but I'll wait. And I would be so happy to have I'm sorry, I forgot her first name already.
Kristen.
Chris. I would be so happy I talked to her very briefly about the orchard work a couple of years ago. So I'd love to have her on this.
What's Kristen's last name?
Guichard, Guichard.
Thank you. Mark, any updates?
Nope. Just keeping up on the habitat stuff.
Right. Susan?
No updates.
Bartlett?
Nope, nothing.
Angus?
No, nothing.
Okay. I have one quick update. I'm going to be forwarding to this group a link to a presentation and a Zoom call for the Mass Affordable Housing Trust Magic Region. So Mark and I are representing our group with Magic, and there was an interesting session that was held last week. I was able to participate for the first hour, and they talked about a transfer fee proposal that's in our state legislature right now. And the proposal that's on the table is that it will give local communities the option to take a percentage of every real estate transaction that fits certain parameters and give that to affordable housing. The range is from 0.5 to 2%. It's a one-time transaction fee, so it would happen when a property changes hands, and it would basically almost serve as a tax for those transactions. There is, as you can imagine, the real estate lobby is pushing back really strongly against this, but there were a lot of details that were walked through. A lot of the discussion was more the kind of the process to get this through state legislature. It really is just giving the opportunity. It's something that every community would have to vote on individually, but it's kind of an interesting idea. Each town could also put restrictions on it. A lot of them will exempt properties under $1 million. So it's really just looking at some of the higher end properties, but that again can vary by communities. Lots of different examples, lots of questions. I will, as I said, I need to finish watching the presentation myself, the second half, but really good discussion, and that's something that could be coming as an opportunity for us to leverage within the next year or so. So that was my update. Next topic is possible candidates. Do we have, other than those mentioned, any possible candidates that you want to put forward? No. Okay, then the next topic is minutes from June 12th. Does anyone have any corrections or anything, any comments about the minutes from June 12th? Do we have a motion to accept minutes?
So I move that we accept the minutes from June 12th.
Second.
Okay, so Matthew made the motion, Angus seconded. So let's go around and get approvals. Susan, do you approve
Yes,
minutes?
yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Angus,
Yes.
and Marianne is yes. So the minutes, the June 12th meeting are approved. And our final topic is scheduling a meeting for August. I think our default is usually the third Tuesday, right? So that would put us at
19th, I think.
the 19th. Is that right?
Yep.
Is everyone available for meeting on the 19th?
Yep.
Anyone not available?
I won't be available. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there another date? Should we look at the 20th? Wednesday, the 20th?
I'm out that whole week, so I'm not available. But you know, the trust business can go on.
Okay. Okay, then we'll stick to the Tuesday, the 19th at 6:30 for our next meeting.
Do you want to try in person or do you prefer remote for that one?
That's a good question. What does everyone think?
I'm fine with in person.
All right, let's try for in person for that one.
Okay, we'll check for a meeting room.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Excellent. And remind me, do we make a motion to adjourn? Is that how we
Yes.
have meetings here? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.